Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by Hockey Think Tank, you, an online hockey community for all hockey players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. With Hockey Think Tank, you get an exclusive Hockey Think Tank resource or video every single day, whether it's Mindset Monday, Tactics Tuesday, Parent Thursday, or Hockey Saturday. We got something every day for you, whether you're a parent, coach, player, or just love youth hockey. And if you love our podcast, we've actually taken the best clips from our 7+ years, and it's all in one place here in Hockey Think Tank U, and it's categorized into those different buckets as well. And my favorite part of Hockey Think Tank U, once a week, I make myself available to talk some shop with you guys. So if you're a coach that wants to talk some hockey, you're a parent that has some questions about what to do with your kid, every week, I'm there for you guys on a Zoom, and I absolutely love that. So join the over 250 plus people that are already in Hockey Think Tank U, sharing their knowledge and getting some knowledge from some of my best friends in the game at all different levels. And guys, this is we're not going to price you out with this thing here. It's half a hockey stick, under $200 for the entire year. And true to our word and living our mission, if that is not something that you can pull, then just shoot me a DM or shoot me an email, and we will give this to you for free. We've had actually 2 people this week that have reached out that said they couldn't swing it for the expenses that they're already paying in the hockey world, and said, no problem. You guys get this for free. So if you want to join, go to thehockeythinktank.com and check it out. Or there's going to be a link at the bottom of the show notes where you can get that. So Hockey Think Tank, you guys, it is bigger and better than ever, and would love to see you in there and collaborate with you and learn from you too. So Hockey Think Tank, you, there we go. Now today's episode, let's get right to it. The 3 things that both Vex and I have learned about youth hockey from our journeys being youth hockey players, youth hockey coaches, and now doing so much in the ancillary of youth hockey. So we're going to talk about a lot of different type of stuff here today. So excited to do that. Before we do get over there, let's bring on the talent of the podcast, Jeffrey J. Who? What's up, dude?
What's up, my man? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's summertime. And I feel like I'm a chauffeur for camps for my kids all over the place. We are heading out to beautiful New Jersey for a couple weeks this weekend to go hang out with my wife's family, which is always we do that every year. It's a ton of fun. Love her family, and really, really excited to do that. My little baby just turned 5 years old yesterday, as the day that we're recording this, which is absolutely wild. She's going to be in kindergarten next year. So a lot of life stuff today. A lot of life stuff going on right now. It's pretty cool stuff, though.
How fast did those 5 years go?
It's a blur. I don't even know. Forget about it.
Dude, that is, I just think about her a few Christmases ago. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 Christmases ago where the whole family was just watching her in the middle of the floor, bopping around and trying to do somersaults. And I think it took her like an hour to actually get her feet over her head into a somersault. When she finally did, the whole family, like 25, 30 people, went nuts. Maybe she was 2 then. I don't know. But seems like that was yesterday, bro. And she turned 5. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. All 3 girls in one school next year, bro. Let's go.
Well, that's nice for driving. Let's go.
I get 40 minutes back in my morning because I do mornings. And yeah.
40 minutos. That is
40 minutes. Yeah, because
school
starts at like 8 for one, at 8:30 and another one, then getting back. Like now it just starts at 8 and I'm back home, and there we go. Boom.
So we got no reason to not have an 8-pack by Christmas.
Oh yeah. 100%. It's coming.
Let's go, baby.
Absolutely coming. No, I'm excited, man. It's it's just, I feel like we're just lifing. We're just in that phase of life right now where we're just lifing. We're trying to figure it out, trying to be the best husbands and dads that we can be while also building these platforms that we have. It's just a push and pull at all times and trying to figure out how to spend your time wisely. And I feel like I'm never spending it wisely, but trying our best. It's about the process, not the result, right? So yeah, crazy.
I like that. I was speaking to a kid yesterday who was talking about a lot of things that we talk about on our podcast. Hey, my buddy that I played on a line with 2 years ago is now going to this team, and I don't have a contract, and blah, 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 all these things. And we talked about process oriented versus results oriented and why it's so powerful and so important. And no matter what, you have to continually focus and refine the process and then results come. If you only chase results and your process slips, you will never get those results. So it's funny that we're talking about that now, but I digress. Excited for this episode, man. I love when it's just you and I. Love when we have guests on, but you're one of my favorite people in the world. So it's very cool and fun when we get to do these episodes where it's just you and I rapping.
Yeah, and I think this was right back at you, number one. But also, I think we talk about youth hockey and the things that are good in it, the things that are challenges, and all that kind of stuff. And so, we'll have an honest conversation about youth hockey here today, and the things that we've learned in our experiences. Again, we're not young as much anymore. We've got some experience, we've got perspective, we got some callus that we've earned from being a part of this at a lot of different vantage points. And yeah, I would love feedback from all of you guys out there who are listening on what you think about what we say. Are we hitting the nail on the head? Are we missing anything? Are there different ways of communicating what we're going to talk about here in a couple minutes? And we're always trying to get better too, especially when it comes to youth hockey, because we get a lot of people that come to us with a lot of different questions, and we want to be best prepared to answer those. And hopefully we do that here today. And so, as we do every episode now, I want to play a clip from Hockey Think Tank U that was put out this past week. And this is a hockey clip. This is about Dave Moss. So Dave Moss, NHL vet, over 500 games in the NHL, guy who was a fourth line player at Michigan, and willed his way to get to the NHL. He didn't play AAA, I don't think, ever in Michigan before getting to junior hockey. He played high school hockey for Detroit Catholic Central. Like, this guy's the man. And now he's coaching youth hockey. And this is something that he had to say. It's a really good one.
Best way to teach kids passing and spatial awareness is through a ton of different small area games that are lopsided, 3-on-2, 4-on-2, games that are fun for them, but it forces passing in a way that's fun for the kids, and they don't even know they're doing it, right? So you put them in situations where there's always going to be players open. It forces them to move to get open. So we've developed probably like 15 drills, and the kids all know the names of them, and we run them all the time, and they love doing it. So it drives competition, and it just teaches them a lot of awareness.
So there we go. Teaching hockey sense through passing and drills where there is an outnumbered situation, whether it's 3-on-2, 2-on-3, 3-on-4, 4-on-3, 4-on-2, 2-on-4. Again, in a future episode, we will talk about the development of hockey sense. Be on the lookout for that one, everybody. But these are such awesome drills in practice, aren't they?
You have to. Oh yeah, you just alluded to the developmental episode that we're talking about, but massively important, which you guys will hear. I don't know if that's in a week or 2 weeks when we drop that one, but it's you got to be doing this, guys.
Yeah. And for the coaches that are out there, when you're thinking about practice planning and you're thinking about different drills and small games that you can do, it doesn't always have to be 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, even number situations. And there's so much value to having 2-on-3, 3-on-2, 2-on-4, 4-on-2, because you're really manipulating time and space, and when you're the 2 in a 2-on-3, you got to work a little bit harder to get open. And you have to read things, and you have to play off each other, teammate, and everything like that. And obviously when you're the outnumbered situation, now you have a little bit more time and space with the puck. You can be a little bit more creative. And so adding a little bit of that uncertainty into it and kind of challenging the time and space and thinking about a success rate of puck touches when it comes to those things, man, it's just such a great development tool to have in your arsenal as a hockey coach, especially at the youth levels. Yeah. So great job by Mosser there. If you haven't listened to that episode, we did it with him a couple months ago, and that was a really, really good one. So check that one out. And before we do get over to our actual episode here, we do have some people to thank. First and foremost, our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all of your coaching education needs. But they ain't just coaching education needs anymore. They have family accounts. So if you are a parent, unbelievable parent education on there, parent perspective, parent guidance. And they also have stuff for players and player development that the kids can come on and see that can help them to be the best at what they do. So, man, it's just a one-stop shop. If you love hockey, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, or whether you're a parent, there's so much great information out there. And the best part about it is we've actually partnered with them to do an associations platform. So if you're a coach, like you can get this for every single coach in your organization. You can develop practice plan libraries, drill libraries that any of your coaches can come out and get. And obviously there's great content on there from a development perspective to help the coaches be better at what they do. So go to acehockeysystems.com today, guys, and check that out.
Massive thank you to Train Heroic. You guys know Train Heroic is the awesome app that has allowed me to work with over 34,000 people online since Voldemort 19. I've worked with individuals. I work with teams. I work with entire organizations, multiple countries, multiple continents. All right. It is the lowest priced alternative to training with a coach in person that will actually get you results, and is the reason that I've trained Olympians, NHL players, junior teams, Division I NCAA teams, Division III, all the way down to little kid teams who want to do workouts at home so that their organization can offer more to each one of their players. I am here to help. I am here to do whatever is necessary to get your players the quality training they need, as well as the mentorship from me on all the other things that we talk about that are performance enhancing and mindset work. So thank you to Train Heroic for making all of that possible.
Boom. Also want to thank Helios Hockey, one of the best hockey products out on the market from a development perspective. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pad that gives you real-time data and real-time feedback on your play, specifically when it comes to two things that the kids absolutely love. Number one is skating development. And so it gives you some metrics on your stride and gives you some metrics on your skating and your skating technique, along with some developmental videos that you can use to help better your skating, and also a hustle score. So every time you move, that sensor lights up and it gives you some metrics on how hard you're working. The kids absolutely love that. But the kicker with Helios Hockey is it syncs up with whatever video you're using. So iPad, iPhone, camera, live barn, syncs up with those, and you can get your shifts or your reps cut up for you directly after your game and your practice. So again, talk about an unbelievable development tool. Helios Hockey is one of the best on the market. So go to helioshockey.com today, check that out. And if you use the discount code Think Tank, one word, you will get a 20% discount on your Pro Annual or your Pro 24-month subscription. And then last, thank you to all of our amazing listeners. We love you guys, and we continue to grind this baby out. Almost 8 years now of doing this, and we just appreciate you guys so much and want to do a positive to the hockey world if you can, for us to help us to grow and to get the message and the mission out there. Anytime you can interact with our podcast on your podcast app by following us, giving us a rating or a review, commenting, downloading, all that kind of stuff goes a long way to us to grow. And so if you could do that for us, that would be absolutely amazing. And with that, it's going to be a fun episode today. Just Vex and I talking about the three biggest things that we've learned each in youth hockey. So without further ado, here we go with Vex and I, keeping it real. What's up, everybody? Happy summer. I cannot believe it's getting to be the end of like July, early August already. Like, what happened, Vex? What happened? It's probably flying by more for you because you're like, this is your go time, and time flies when you're having fun. So
it's like long days, short months.
Yeah.
You know what
just
I mean?
Like being a parent.
Yeah. Honestly, you're like, oh my God, my daughter is almost 2. I remember her just being born. What the H? Yeah. HE double hockey sticks. Crazy. Yeah. Same, bro. Same. Summer's almost over. Season's almost here. Almost go time.
I don't even want to think about that. But anyways, we got some fun stuff to talk about today, guys. And we're going to talk about the 3 biggest things we've learned in youth hockey. And, you know, I'll have kind of mine. I have a feeling mine are going to be a little bit more like maybe youth hockey culture oriented. And I would imagine yours are going to be a little more like maybe player or like right in your face kind of oriented. I'm excited to hear what you have though. And like, honestly, like, yeah, it's just Vex and I today, and we're excited to kind of, I don't want to say spill the beans, but we're excited to talk to you guys about what we've learned in this youth hockey space. And so, Vex, do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?
Let's let the brains of the operation go second. So I will
you're
go
going
second.
Second.
Let's let the brains go first. You go first, please.
Okay. All right. So I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is, and this is like pretty recently, and I've been talking a lot about this with people that I really respect in the hockey world, and it is that we have to start simplifying the path for families. Like if you have a goal or you have a dream to, play whatever level of hockey, whether it's you want to make your high school team, you want to play college hockey, you want to play pro hockey, I'm starting to realize, and it's becoming ever more clear, that the areas of the world, and particularly in North America here too, where the path is simple, you create more hockey players and you create better hockey players, like more elite hockey players at the end of the day, especially per capita. So what do I mean by this? So let's take, and again, like we talk about Minnesota a lot as kind of being a gold standard, and we talk about like Finland and Sweden as being kind of like a gold standard for player development. And we can talk about a lot of different things and a lot of different advantages that those areas have to producing more and better players. But one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is how simple the path is for people in those areas and how that relates to creating more and better hockey players. So think about this. All right. I'm going to kind of like compare Minnesota with Massachusetts right now. Right. And so Minnesota, what's the path? The path is you get in, you play for your town, you continue to play for your town. You might do some AAA type stuff pre or postseason when you get older. You might do some AAA type stuff in the spring and the summer. But for the most part, from learn to play all the way through kind of like the end of high school, like people understand what their path is to get to, let's just call it college hockey. Does that make sense?
100%. Easy.
And then you go to Boston. Okay. Boston, there's not really borders. In Boston, there's a whole crazy kind of like fight for players between club hockey and town hockey. And then when you get older, you can play full season AAA, you can do prep school and half season AAA, you can do juniors, you can do public high school. Like there's just so many different options. And I think the more options that people have, the more it stresses them out on what this path is going to look like. And when you have that, you're going to not have as many players because parents are going to be like, this is too confusing for me. My kid also likes football or soccer. So we're just going to do that because I know what that path looks like. It's a lot more simpler. And from an elite player standpoint, I've had this debate and conversation with other people, like, what's better for player development? Is it having open borders where you can like choose wherever you want to play? Or should it be like you live in this town and this is what you're going to do? And like everything, there's pros and cons to both sides of that debate. But again, like you look at the top producing elite players per capita around the world and you play for your town, man. Like you eliminate some of those options, which means you eliminate some of that stress. Now, does that mean that, we're not big believers in competition? No. Is there a sense that if you have choice, then everybody has to kind of up their game so they get people? Yes. But let's flip that. Okay. Because I think that is a valid argument. But I want to flip that for a second. And I want to talk about like building the base and creating the most amount of good players. Okay. If you have right now in an open border situation, you're not happy with the club that you're in, what do you do?
Oh, I thought that was rhetorical. You move. You leave, right?
You leave and you go to another organization, which is your right in that kind of environment. But what ends up happening with that? The organization that you left isn't getting any better because they're not getting the feedback. People are leaving, The organization you go to, the reason you probably go there is from a marketing perspective, not necessarily maybe a player development perspective. Now, again, let's not paint all brushes with the same strokes, but that's a lot of why people end up leaving. The grass is greener on the other side. Well, when you have borders and you play where you're supposed to, you have no choice if you don't like the situation that you're in to make it better. Like, you have to actively get involved. You have to get people together to create change. You have to challenge the status quo. And in an open border, that doesn't really happen much because you can just go wherever you want. And then people end up getting dissatisfied because, there's only really how many organizations are operating that great and efficiently. Our retention numbers wouldn't be this bad, if everybody was doing things great. And that's, again, not to say that there aren't people who aren't doing great things, but I just feel like, going back to it, the simpler the path we make for people, the more people are going to choose our sport and the more elite players we're going to develop. What do you think on that?
I mean, totally agree. Obviously it's tough. And the biggest difference is size of countries and locations that we're comparing a whole country versus a state, a whole state or region versus a small country, less players, things like that. But at the same time, like, Minnesota works, it's obvious the numbers are crazy. And yeah, it just makes sense. I don't know. You take out all these like obstacles and people to be crazy and to jump around or to jump here, jump there. And it's just like, if you live here, you do this. Probably.
Well, here's to that point, 100%. And to that point, like, you think about coaches, right? And let's talk about like paid coaches within hockey. If you don't have to recruit, like, where are you spending your time? Ooh. Right? Where are you spending your time, and how much more job satisfaction do you get when you don't have to do that? For anybody that hasn't been involved in recruiting, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, whether you're a college coach, a junior coach, or a youth hockey coach, right? Like, you're talking with tons of different people. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Imagine if you took those hours in your day and you use them to make players better.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, yes. You use that to do practice plans. You do that to, go on to different, like, I don't know, different groups, coaching, education seminars, things like that. Like, the amount of time you'll get back in your day to make your players better, as opposed to like being on the phone and being stressed about recruiting and getting, the right kids to build your super team. Like, where is our energy better as coaches, like, used to make players better? Is it to create a super team, or is it to make your players better? Right? Like, makes sense, I think.
It just makes sense. I mean, I was thinking it completely from like the players and the families and the ease of taking out all these random possible choices. If the path is way more linear versus, kind of where it is now. But you're right, from the coaching standpoint, like, so much easier to work on development when it's like you're just focused on development. You're not like, me as a strength coach, like, just building my own business here. Like, I know that I've got to wear 18 hats because I'm a small business instead of only focusing on coaching.
Right.
And like, I wish that I could only focus on coaching, but I can't. And that is why I don't sleep. But it's like, it's the same idea here, just slightly different, right? Like, it would make the coaches' lives so much easier, and they could spend so much more time on both the individual, the group, and the organization and their development if that's all they were doing.
Yeah. And just like mental headspace too, like recruiting up in the head, it's a lot. And you're riding the highs and lows of getting kids, not getting kids, dealing with, intermediaries who are trying to play angles when you're, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and so your headspace, and you're just going to be so much less stressed to be able to affect positively some change on these kids that you're coaching. And so I just feel like we have to do a better job of simplifying the path. And like, look, I was on the board of a USA Hockey affiliate in Illinois for AHI. And I couldn't believe, like, when you look at our discussions that we would have, a lot of the time I would say is wasted on BS recruiting rules and regulations and challenges, as opposed to like, okay, what can we do as a governing body to like make our coaches better, or educate our parents, or provide some like stuff for the players that can help make them better. I look at the meetings and the time that was spent and what we talked about, and we could eliminate all of that. You know what I mean? And again, like with like residency rules, let's call them residency rules. It doesn't have to be 100 or 0. Maybe you allow a player or two from out of district or something like that, because you always, I think, should do that because there's extenuating circumstances and, whatever. But like, there are pros and cons to everything, but I feel like we would be much better as a sport in the youth space if we simplify the path for people.
Totally agree. And I'm sure that people hearing that meetings of the governing bodies, state, country, city, whatever it is, organization, spend so much time on adult things and adult ego reasons instead of how can we make the youth hockey experience better? How can we help our players get better quicker? How can we keep everybody loving the game? Just like, how can we keep growing, as an organization and doing the right things? Like, those are the top. Obviously, you've got to have in administrative roles, like the other talks also. But I can see how it would be very frustrating to be in those meetings. And I'm sure you look at the percentage of time spent on things that will move the needle for the kids versus just changing who's going to win next year because of this rule or that rule. And it's like, guys, shut up. That's adult ego. That's adult ego. Like, grow up, dude.
Yeah. And like Toronto just went open borders, right, in Ontario. And the GTHL, I'm sure you've heard of it. Like, it's the top league out there. And they went away with their border rules. And everybody that I know from up there is like, it has caused absolute chaos.
Anarchy.
And then you think about even like up there, it's not so much down here in the States, but up in Canada, there's all your leagues and stuff within Hockey Canada, but then there's a bunch of outlaw leagues too, right? Non-sanctioned hockey. And so like, then it just increases the options for everybody. And it just like, it makes me think about why Chipotle has been so successful. And obviously their food is really good. But one of the things that they found, I read a study on this, is that you walk into Chipotle and there's very little options. Like, you're not going to the Cheesecake Factory where there's like a million things on the menu. Like, this is where it's going to be really simple. And so it takes away that mental anguish of like trying to find like the perfect thing that you want to eat. And it's like, okay, here's my couple of options here. Here's my couple of options for meat. Here's my couple of options for salsa, and boom, there you go. And that was like part of the customer satisfaction, was like, I don't have to think. Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every single day, that black shirt and those black pants. Why? Because he had to make other decisions and that were much more important than what am I going to wear today. And he wanted the mental headspace to be able to do that. And so again, we're very much tangenting here, but like, I really feel like our hockey community would be much better if we simplified the path. If tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1 worked together, if travel hockey worked with rec hockey, and like it, because all of those levels of hockey are extremely important. I think some people might think of me saying this and be like, oh, like, tier 1 hockey is not. No, like I'm a believer in tier 1 hockey. And as we'll get into in a little bit, I'm not a believer of tier 1 hockey at really young ages, but like, if you can simplify the path for people, okay, I understand that this is what my son or daughter needs to do to achieve their goals in this game, as opposed to every year being a blank slate and I don't know what the hell team or organization I should play for. We're going to have more people in our game. We're going to have more people staying in our game who try our game, and we're going to develop more elite hockey players. Boom.
So true. Love it, dude. Love it.
Okay, what do you got? What's your number one?
Well, I was going to start with one, but since we went that route, I'm going to call an audible that you don't even know I'm calling, so it doesn't matter. And this is inconsequential, me saying this, but I'm going to go with an organizational one. Organizations need to seek out strategic partnerships. And I'm not talking about only thinking about donations. So you, in exchange for this hospital to give us $10,000 and we put your name on the jersey. That's not what I'm talking about. Every organization knows that they probably should be doing that. I mean, if you don't, you should be. You should find a way to get donations. If you're a 501c3, which a lot of youth organizations are, like, work on those to ease burdens of cost or facility upgrades or what equipment, like whatever that you're using that money for. What I'm talking about is like, have somebody on the board whose job it is to like seek out services and people and products, companies that your clients, your players, your coaches, your families need and use from a development standpoint, from a making life easier standpoint, like whatever that is, reach out to them nonstop. Because like I look at it this way, talk about like a sports psychologist. Somebody in your organization is probably some type of psychologist or sports psychologist. If they're not, somebody in the organization has a family member or a best friend who is. Like, it's just the numbers. It's going to be that. Or it could be a trainer, something like that. You reach out to them and say, hey, we'd love for you to do 3 speeches throughout the year, 1 to our youngest groups, 1 to our middle groups, and 1 to our oldest groups. It could be on Zoom. It could be in person. You find a way to make it work. They get to get in front of all of their clients that can help every player in the organization for free or at a very, they pay for that marketing. That's like sports like would pay to get in front of all those people. They will, you ask them, they'll do it for free. You're helping each other. You get to give info that's going to help every player and parent in the organization. Now the organization looks better. They're equipping every player and parent with the tools to help them develop for free. And that person, sports psychologist, speaker, whoever it is, they get to be in front of all the people that they could help. And if they want to come to you, it's up to the people after the speech to reach out. You can do the same thing with meal prep companies, with strength coaches, personal trainers, psychologists, hockey stick companies. Like, it's endless. If you're an organization, you have hundreds or 1,000 or however many players that all of these companies and services are looking to work with. So find an agreement that works for both of you. Like, make it mutually beneficial for both. Both parties win, and you're helping all of your families and all of your players get access to a new service at a discounted rate for the partnership or just in being introduced. They didn't even know what sports psychology was and how learning about the brain and self-talk could help that athlete be better. And now they got a free speech from one of them. Now they reach out, they want to sign up for 5 sessions, right? And then a step further, organizations, look to your alumni. Look at all of your alumni throughout however the last 20 years. How many of them are in an organization, an owner or a head or some type of position where they could make a decision to work with that organization? Now you're creating a positive circular feedback loop of, Topher grew up playing for CYA. Then he went on to be a D1 player, D1 coach. He knows all about it. He started the think tank. Well, he can come back and do this for the organization. And now the organization works with Topher. Now Topher's pushing more people to the organization. And like now more people who are coming up deciding, hey, what organization should I be in? Well, let's go to that one because they have an extensive alumni organization that helps alumni after they're done in the org, while the alumni get to help the current players. Like, why aren't we doing more of this? It just makes sense to keep it all in the family. Everybody's happy. Everybody's winning. We keep hockey with hockey. We get people better services. We get more development, and everybody's winning, So it's like, for me, that should be like an number 1 priority for every organization. And it's not very hard. I literally have done this with my own company, my own gym for the last, since I retired 2018. And it's allowed my players to get massive discounts on about 1 billion different products that they use every day. And I find, what do my guys use? What do they like? What do they need? I go reach out to companies because I have leverage. Hey, work with me. You get to work with all these guys. They're already using it. Give me a discount for my guys. I'll make a video for you. I don't care. I'll take my time to help my guys. Boom. Now my guys save money on something they need, something they want. It's pretty simple and it's very powerful.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways you can be creative with that stuff too. Like so many different ways. And you might not even want to do like an official partnership, but you might like, hey, we're going to get, you used it, a sports psychologist to come in and they're going to speak to 5 groups of families. Okay. And then if a family signs up, you can even work something out where it's a fundraiser for the organization, where the organization is going to get 10% of whatever, that fund is. The sports psychologist wins, the family wins, the organization wins. As Michael Scott says, it's a win-win-win situation. And yeah, totally agree. And the alumni thing too, I think about that from a coaching standpoint. people who had a great experience within the organization, and then you kind of keep in touch, and then all of a sudden they're going to want to come back either when they're a young professional and they don't have a family yet and they have some time and want to make some extra money, or somebody that has kids that is going to they're going to be a part of the organization as players. So they come back and they want to either they volunteer their time, or if it's a paid position. And so, yeah, man, I'm with you. There's so many creative things that organizations can do to up their game with partnerships and bringing more people underneath the tent that can provide value for the families.
And you're probably going to get more coaches that way too.
Totally.
Oh, hey, Johnny, we heard you own a t-shirt company. Well, instead of going and buying from some random person, why don't we go to Johnny, who played 10 years in our organization, gave our club $200,000 for playing with us, and we're going to give him the business instead. Oh, weird. Now Johnny's around the rink again. He's smelling the ice. He's around the players. Well, now Johnny wants to come coach every now and then and donate his time because you bought some shirts from him. You were going to buy the shirts regardless. Why not do it from an alumni? Now you market that you're working with alumni. Now all the other alumni want to help too. And it's like, hello, it's not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. I like that. Good stuff. Okay. So we each went 1-1. My number 2, or do you want to go 2? Why don't let's snake this thing. You went 1.
All right.
You do 1 and then I'll do 1.
That's what we do when we do our drafts on Friday. First guy who wins rock, paper, scissors, they get the first pick, but then the second guy gets 2 and 3. So you got to know the group if you're going for a first Ovi who can really shift the game, or you're going to wait, let him take that guy, but take the 2 and 3. Okay. Early sports specialization. I want to talk about, just things I've thought about, things I've seen, things that I've learned. There's obviously a balance, and Topher and I talk about play multiple sports, 100%. But that doesn't mean you can't do a private lesson. It doesn't mean, you can't do this or that. You don't go to a camp in the summer or a couple camps, right? But the problem is early sports specialization has a lot of downsides. And Topher and I, being in hockey as long as we've been, have seen a lot of those downsides. Number 1 probably being burnout. I don't care how much your kid likes hockey at 8. Of course they love hockey at 8 and they want to do it all day long. It's that kid at 16, if he's skating 5 days a week, every single week from 8 to 16, and he's going before school 2, 3, 4 days a week, and he's got a trainer, and he's playing on 3 teams, and he goes to summer tournaments left and right, and we have seen it over and over and over and over for multiple decades that burnout is a very real thing. Even the kids that we think love hockey the absolute most at 8 have a very, very real chance of burning out when they specialize way too early. So number 1 is burnout. Number 2, talk about it all the time. Early sports specialization limits the toolbox of athleticism. By playing multiple sports, you are learning way more skills and movements and ways to gamify and think about problem solving within the confines of any sport. And once you start to learn how to think outside the box in one sport, guess what that helps you in hockey? It helps you do the exact same thing in hockey. Oh, in soccer, I zoomed out and I learned this type of strategy, and boom, now I'm doing the same thing on the ice. So when you play hockey at the highest levels, you're solving problems very, very, very quickly. The guys who solve problems quicker and better are the ones who keep moving up. And when you play multiple sports throughout your life, especially in the younger ages, you're increasing that toolbox from which to pull answers from, when you're in a game. So that part. And then the third leg of that, I would say, of the tripod is, just like overuse injuries and development, strength, power, speed, stuff like that. Hockey's not natural as far as like a biomechanical movement. So getting kids off the ice is really important. Now, that doesn't mean they can't skate once or twice a week in the summer, making sure volume makes sense.
And it's obviously age appropriate too.
Yeah. And age appropriate and like all these things, so just be mindful of all of those. I had a coach reach out to me actually today from St. Louis here, who's getting back into coaching with young players, and he's running team workouts in the summer. And he's like, dude, how how do I structure this? I'm coaching U13 players, and I had a kid come to me who had already played a lacrosse game, had an hour workout with a personal trainer, had a skate, and then I think played a soccer game, and then came to me for a team workout. He's like, what do I do with that kid? He's already crushed. Like, I don't want to. I'm like, A, he's a kid, so like they can handle a little bit more volume, but like B, just have a talk. Like maybe he doesn't need to come to the team workout because of everything he's already chosen to do in the summer on his own. There's nothing wrong with that, or he comes to the workout and you make him an assistant coach and you tell all the boys, this is why little Johnny's going to coach with me today because he's done all of this. You figure it out. They're kids. But that's also a piece of it too, is just like the developmental process and keeping the body healthy and things like that. So like early sports specialization, not great, especially for hockey players, but that doesn't mean you can't do lessons or go to camps or whatever. It's just looking at daily, weekly, monthly, summer, in-season total volume and making sure that all of it makes sense for the kid, both emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of those things so that they're going in the right direction that you want them to go. More is not better. Better is better.
Yeah. I think about our first year of doing this. So this is what, 2018, 2017, whatever that was. And we had Reed Lowe, former NHL tough guy, on the podcast. And he said one thing that you and I still say to this day, and that is kids don't miss the game anymore. Right. Yeah. They like come to the rink in August or September when the season starts. And it's just like, all right, it's just another day, as opposed to putting the bag away a little bit, and playing some other sports, being a kid, all that kind of stuff. And showing up in August, like just foaming at the mouth, ready to attack being a hockey player. And it's become a job for a lot of kids. It really has. It's become a job at such a young age. And that burnout, you're right. That's real, man. So great stuff. Okay. My number 2, who does number 2 work for? Who does number 2 work for? So if you follow anything that we do, or you listen to the podcast, that this is the thing that I think really I've been spending a lot of time and effort on educating myself on. And that is the narrowing of the talent pyramid at way too young of an age. AAA, travel hockey, whatever, at like just way too young of an age, guys. Way too young of an age. And I've looked at the numbers, I've looked at some of the data, and youth hockey at the younger ages has become so much less about developing hockey players and so much more a recruiting battle. It really has. And it's seeped into our youngest ages. And for me, it's the biggest, like if I was the czar of hockey, whatever you want to call it, the leader of hockey, and I can do whatever I wanted to do, I would outlaw, AAA probably before 12U. I think 12U is probably appropriate. I could be convinced potentially at 11U. That's what we started, was 11U, right? Like, and so I just feel like it's a really good addition to what you just talked about. You think about it, when you play tier 1, there's a pressure that comes with that a lot of times. Maybe not with every kid, but with a lot of kids and certainly a lot of families. And it's expensive. It's a lot more expensive than your typical rec or town hockey type stuff. And so just think about like doing that from 8 years old through 17. Okay. Versus 12 years old through 17. That's a lot of years of it not being so serious, and the years where you're really supposed to fall in love with the game. That's a lot of dollars back in the parents' pockets. And I think as this gets more ever present, you're going to see the data that it does like that. It doesn't correlate. That we've seen, and we've talked about studies of like elite 16-year-olds doesn't correlate to like pro and national team players. There was a study done in Sweden, and like early talent identification means absolutely nothing. It literally means absolutely nothing. I shouldn't say absolutely nothing, but like it just, there are so many reasons why this is not good for our game. And I wish, I've talked to a lot of people who run these AAA programs at these young ages, and they all kind of do it for different reasons. And some of them even like know that it's not the right thing to do, but they feel like they have to do it or else their business is going to go away and they're not going to have the best bantam teams, and midget teams when it actually matters. And so, man, I just feel like if that's something that we can come together as a hockey community to stop the bleeding with this, it's gonna do so much good for our game. So much good for our game.
I totally agree, man. It's crazy. I mean, with my company, GMT, we work with so many youth athletes now here in St. Louis and online across the world with GMT online. And I've seen a lot more young kids have a lot more stress, anxiety, nervousness with hockey, loss of confidence in hockey, which translates to loss of confidence in life and problems in the classroom,
lack of purpose.
Because they're attaching their identity to hockey at such a very young age because everyone is making it so serious so young. And that is not a good thing. It is not a good thing. Like I have seen it a lot more. I've been doing this 19 years, and I can honestly say the last 5 years, the amount of kids who come to me crying, come to me super stressed out, super anxious. I can't eat. I'm nervous, feeling like they're not worthy of being in a room with other players because they're better than them. Dude, you're 11. That's not a thing, and it's perverse. It's backwards. And I truly believe that it's a lot of adult ego and a lot of adult decisions that are forcing this. And that organization is doing it, so we have to do it. And it's not our fault. We've got to do it because they're doing it. And it's like, well, I believe in doing what's right and standing up for what you believe in. So, I don't know. Like I wouldn't do it. It's just, I don't see, I know why people think that it should work, but it's like, oh, if they play against the best competition at 8, they're going to be way better. What did Toph just say? That's not the case. It's not the case. Too serious too soon is actually the opposite of what we want for young people and young players and young human development. Let's talk about the human more importantly over the hockey player at 8, 9, 10. Okay. Like they don't need to be creating an identity that is Johnny, the hockey player, and nothing else. And if we start making them play AAA at 9, that is what happens.
Yeah. And again, not to every kid, but that pressure meter gets ratcheted up, and it's not just the kids that feel it. It's the parents feel it more than the kids. And guess who else feels it? The coaches, because what do they have to do? Going back to my previous point, they got to recruit. They got to spend, could you imagine being and I don't want to disparage anybody here. It's not meant to be, but can you imagine being a coach and talking to parents of 7-year-olds and selling them on AAA hockey at 7 years old and 8 years old?
No.
I don't know if I
wouldn't do it. No, I'd rather play in traffic.
But there's so many other little ancillary things that go with it too, because what happens? So here in Chicago, right? I've looked at a lot of different things here in Chicago, and we have 6 tier 1 organizations now in Chicago. And so let's just say each of the AAA teams carries, 15 kids. What's 15 times 6? Oh boy.
90.
Okay, let's go. Okay. You've just taken at every birth year, 90 kids out of the funnel. So what happens? That makes the tier 2 level, what does that do? The tier 2 level is not as good. Okay. And then with 90 kids leaving, where are those tier 2 clubs going to take their kids from? Well, they're going to take the kids from the house leagues. So now we've just decimated rec house league hockey, which is the most important to the growth of our game. We've watered down the product by a lot. And also when you think about what happens, so let's say, first of all, in Chicago, let's say there's 25 tier 2 teams that you're getting 90 kids from. Let's just say ish, for not good math guy sake. That means 3 to 4 kids from every program, they're losing their best 3 to 4 players. So in a world that doesn't have residency rules, what's going to happen? oh God, everybody's going to freak out because everybody who's in youth hockey knows this. When 2 or 3 of your best players leave, what happens to everybody else? They go absolutely crazy because our team isn't going to be good again. So maybe we need to think about another option, or maybe we should go to a lesser tier 1 team, or, our team isn't going to be ranked in the My Hockey ranking. So, and then everybody just loses their mind. This is exactly what silly season is. If you've listened to the podcast, when we talk about that. And so there are like so many other like trickle down negative unintended consequences of this, because then that doesn't make the experience good for everybody else. Going back to what we talked about earlier and with the residency rules, everybody feels like they need to find a new team because their kid's not good enough to play tier 1, but they think their kid's good enough to play tier 1. So they got to get to the best tier 2 team now. And so they're recruiting, and it's just like, it's this whole circle of, ridiculousness that happens. And that's why I feel like, we gotta do something about this, and it's not going to get regulated. Like AHI, USA Hockey or whatever cannot say don't do this, because then they're probably just going to leave and go to AAU and do it anyway. You see that up in Canada all the time. You see it with the cross ice, half ice, full ice stuff, in a lot of different places where, the youngest players have just been like, screw it. All right, we're going to go to AAU instead of following the research and the guidelines of what really good hockey development is. But like, it's all about educating parents. And if there's any parents that are listening to this who would potentially be dealing with this, like, you don't have to do it. And again, I've ran the numbers here in Chicago, and the amount of back and forth between tier 2 and tier 1 at those ages is huge. It's absolutely huge. These tier 1 teams are turning over a third to a half of their roster almost every year. And where are those kids coming from? It's actually more from tier 2 than it is from other tier 1 teams. So like, you don't have to do it. And anybody who tells you that you do, like, I don't agree. The numbers don't bear that out. And if there's an organization that tells you that if you don't do this, then I'm not going to take your kid later, I don't want my kid with that organization anyway. So, anyways, long story long, like, this is something that we will continue to beat the drum on. We do not feel like this is good for the game. We feel like there's, it kills the base. It creates FOMO for people. It's way too expensive, which also gets people to leave the sport. The travel, like, it just,
it's short-sighted.
Parents, yeah, you don't. I would say like 11, 12U is probably a fair, I would say, age to kind of get started with that. Pee-wees, which is when we started. Yeah, I feel very, very strongly about this.
Same. I mean, it's just obvious when you look at the numbers, the numbers of players, the numbers of the base, the numbers of the orgs, the numbers that deal with cost. And like, oh, we're going to add in 3 or 4 more years of travel and AAA and all the things that go along with that. Well, what does that look like? Adding 4 years of X amount of dollars per player, like per household. And what does that do to how many people can play in the game, long term, not just this year, and the economy and just all these things. And it's just, with everything in the game of hockey costing more every year, skates, sticks, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. And I'm looking at like, there's a really good, it's called Clear Rink Hockey on Instagram. It's a great follow. They do a lot of stuff on like Chicago hockey. And one of the things that they just put out was trends across like travel schedules for tier 1 hockey clubs in Illinois. And I'm looking at this, and like an 11U team traveled at played 35 games out of state.
An 11U?
11U. Yeah, like,
so
there's a 9U team that was like 30 games or maybe 29 games. Yeah, it just like 12U up to 35 games out of state. It's unnecessary.
Let's say they're playing 4 games in a weekend. You think that's fair?
Yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah.
We'll say 4 at the higher end. They're playing 4 games on a weekend, 35 games. what is that? 8 times 4 is 32.
Yeah, so you're taking 9 trips out of state.
You're taking 8 more trips. Let's even call it 6, which it's more than that. 6 more trips. If you're playing 4 games, you're staying at least 2 nights. You're probably staying 3. 3 more nights in hotels times 6 to 8 trips. 8 times 3, 24 nights in hotels. Bro, I stayed in a hotel last weekend in Cleveland. One of my NHL guys got married.
A lot of them are probably pay to play or stay to play too. So
which means you're more expensive.
Jacked up.
Yeah. So it's like, how much are we spending? Like, guys, like, come on. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face, because there's going to be players who can't keep affording that as the years go on. If they're starting that at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, that is crazy. That's not even having to do with the cost of playing and all these things and equipment. And it's just like, dude, like, come on, and let's say this. And, I look at it like, okay, what are other ways you can develop players without going out of town too? So like, even if you are going to be in that AAA org, which I think is stupid, okay, take less weekends away, add more practices, add workouts. The cost to do a practice on ice is way more than the cost to do a practice in a gym. In a field is free, free on a weekend. If your coach knows what they're doing or whatever, look it up and consult somebody, hire somebody to write workouts for that, like whatever. There's so many things you could do that are way, way, way less of a cost that still focus on development and don't make you go out of town. 8 more trips at 2 to 3 nights a trip that cost all of this extra money. And if we do that for 3, 4, 5 more years, how many more players get to keep playing because of that? It's just zoom out, guys, zoom out.
Yeah. 100%. And like, if you want to play games, like this is something that I don't think enough organizations do. Like, why don't you split up like your, let's just call it 10U team and 11U team, get some refs, treat it like a real game, whether it's the 10Us versus the 11Us, or you do like a little bit of a draft and you get some kids that are going to wear red and some kids are going to wear white. Like,
how awesome would that be?
You're getting all the benefits of what you would get from a game. You don't have to travel. Like, it's probably part of your ice contract already. So you're not paying any more out of pocket. You're not paying for hotels. And just imagine playing like 5 games like that, and then 5 games with the younger team. So the 10U would play the 9Us, and then the 10Us would play the 11Us, right? Like, so you're playing 5 with the team above, 5 with the team below. And now you've just saved your organization or your families how much? Couple $1,000 probably.
And like, think about this too. You make it a day. It's a Saturday. Instead of going out of town, you get the old team and the young team to do a warm up together. You get the parents out there watching. You make it fun. You make it a barbecue at the rink. Both teams, parents, kids, they're eating after. It's cheap, grill up some burgers and some broccoli, right? Super cheap. You're hanging out. What does that do for the organization? What does that do for the youth hockey experience? You get a bouncy house that costs $800 or $1,000 in burgers. Now you spent $2,500 on the weekend instead of each family spending $2,000 on the weekend. Yeah. And like, what does that do for the pride and older players helping younger players and parents getting to know each other? And now everybody's there at the rink together, and it's exciting and it's fun and it's mentorship and it's all these things. And you saved every family a minimum of $1,000 minimum. It's way more. We all know it's way more when we look at cost of food, cost of travel, cost of hotel, cost of tournament fees, blah, 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 blah. You're saving every family $1,000 just to do that on one weekend. I mean, what if you do that for 4? Come on. Yeah.
And the benefits that come with that too, from a development standpoint, from a culture standpoint, like all of that stuff, just huge value add. We did that when I was here in Chicago with Windy City Storm. We did like an organization celebration weekend where we did exactly what you were talking about. And I don't know if I've ever gotten better feedback on anything that I've done than that. Like it was awesome.
Like, talking about our other points, like there's a weekend right there. You do that with 80 your teams. So it's 4 games, in the middle of them, you got an 8, a 9:30 at 11 o'clock. That's when you have the sports psychologist come in and talk to whoever.
Get different speakers for sure.
Burgers, different speakers, different people adding value. You bring in the alumni who own businesses. You let them set it up in the rink for free. They give away stuff. They're talking to everybody. God, guys, this stuff is so not hard. Like it takes a little bit of forethought and care about the people in your org and delivering an experience that they want to be a part of. And guess what? They're going to be there for life. You're going to retain them. You're not going to be freaking out in silly season, wondering who's going to come to you. Because guess what? You're doing something in your organization that nobody else is doing. Yeah. And people want to be a part of that.
Yeah. And just because I feel like youth hockey, like just because things have been done a certain way doesn't mean that there's not a better way. Right. So think about like the programming and the stuff that we're talking about. Like it can work. It can work for sure. Okay. So
that's a great one.
Don't narrow the talent pyramid too early. Like that was the biggest one. All right. So if we're snaking, then I got to go next year too, right? My last one and my first two kind of go into this one. And that is, we need to care about house league and rec league hockey again. House and rec hockey has been pushed out of too much programming. It's been pushed out of too many rinks. When they do have it in the rinks, they're at the worst times because they're trying to cater to the quote unquote elite crowd. And when you talk to a lot of different club operators, they will tell you that one of the biggest things that they are worried about is exactly this. And they feel like they have to offer travel hockey to everybody. And, nobody wants to play house league hockey. And I think that's a bit of an excuse. I think there is a little bit of merit to that, but I think that's also an excuse too. And I think we need to find a way to reimagine what house league hockey and what rec league hockey, how it's delivered to the hockey population, especially at the youngest of ages. And I would encourage literally everybody on here to go check out, and I've talked about them a lot before, but to go check out Dryland Development Project out of Boston, Massachusetts. And their mission is rec hockey. Like that's what they live for. And they have done so many amazing things to grow the game and provide incredible experiences for the kids that are part of their program. And it's all catered towards the rec athlete, towards house hockey. And so, one of the things that I've really learned from them is that the experience really matters. And that's what I talk about. I just said it, like just because something has been done a certain way for a long time doesn't mean there's not a better way to do it. And so typically, like, what does a hockey season look like, right? You get like 2 practices with your team. Maybe it's a split ice practice, and then you play a couple games on the weekend and all that kind of stuff. Well, what if there was a better way to deliver the game? What if we can make our practices a little bit different so it's a lot more fun for the players? What if we can make our games, going back to what we just talked about with that organization celebration stuff, doing things a little bit more in-house? And so they do these like really cool things in their programming, and it's just even little things like the national anthem before games. Doing the national anthem, right? Like,
so awesome.
It's not even like that big of a deal, but to the kids that are out on the ice that watch that at the high school games or the college games or the NHL games that they go to, they kind of feel a little bit more like a pro, and, finding like they pay their refs in Chipotle gift cards, and they have, I forget what it was called, but they have little kids run the score box. It's like a juice. They pay them in like juice boxes, and so finding ways to make practices and games more enjoyable. So it's not just like the typical regular thing that you always see. I know one of the things that they do is whoever's winning after the second period, they get to steal somebody from the other bench, like their best player, if they're losing, awesome. To kind of even things out. So how can we as a hockey community get creative and really focus on the experience? And the development comes from the experience, not the other way around, is kind of the way I feel like they think about it. Like you're going to get better by enjoying yourself at the rink just by osmosis. And that's not to say you're not going to have practices where you're going to work on isolated skills and skating, and you're going to do some power skating and, regular skill type stuff. But like, at the end of the day, especially at that level, I would say this at every level of youth hockey, the goal should be for a kid to not wait to come back to the rink because they just love their experience that much. That should be the goal of every program and every coach. And so by putting more time, effort, and thought into that level of the game, I think we're going to create a longer, a longer runway for a lot of kids who, you know, and to be honest, like there's a lot of families that need that because they don't understand the game and they don't have time with the other kids that they have to get their kids to the rink 4 times, you know, during a week. And then on the weekends again, and 6 a.m. practices and 7 a.m., which is typically when a lot of that stuff happens with the house leagues. We have to recalibrate here and put a lot more focus on those grassroots house league players and families.
They're 100%. And, you know, I was actually talking to one of my guys who just signed in the NHL out of Michigan Tech this year, Big Jack Anderson, signed with the Dallas Stars. And we were talking about, you know, his season and how he went from when I first met him, you know, going into college hockey to signing in the NHL, which nobody thought would have been possible, you know, 4 or 5 years ago for him, honestly. And he was like, man, guys used to, in the beginning of the year, they were kind of making fun of my roommate and I because like we were at the rink all day long. He's like, I mean, all day long. He said he played at Michigan Tech and their apartment didn't really have heat. He's like, we were gonna, yeah, that's what I said. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, dude, it's actually so stupid. But we were gonna go to pay for like a better heater. And then we just decided, well, this will force us out of our apartment to go to the rink and we'll be there all day. So we're going to get more out of it. And he's like, I just love being at the rink. My roommate just loved being at the rink. Both of our goals was to play pro hockey at the end of our senior seasons. And because that was our goal, we wanted to do what we needed to do to achieve that. And he's like, and I just love being at the rink anyways. So I would do, you know, my school that I had to absolutely do. And then I'd be at the rink the rest of the day and most of the night, every single day. And, you know, like,
and he signs an NHL contract.
Signs an NHL contract with the Dallas Stars. I want to say he signed cap. You know, and they're really excited about what he's going to bring to that organization and the future that he's going to have.
And he took the marathon path to get there too, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, absolutely. And you know, like it's everything that you say on this podcast since day one. One of the most important things that we can help facilitate as far as development is a love for the game, a love of being at the rink. Rink rats equal players that want to get better. And if you love the game, you want to practice it harder with more intention, you want to learn every little thing you can to be the best. You know, every NHL player is a huge hockey nerd now, all of them. It's not like when you and I played and like there were some guys who just couldn't wait to get out of the rink. They loved the game, but then it was like, get me out of here. It's not really that way anymore. Everybody loves the game and wants to do everything they possibly can to get the most out of themselves within the game. And so like, here's just an example of what Toph is talking about and why what he's talking about works.
Yeah. And I think too, like going to that, every rink should have 1 hour a day of rat ice where anybody can go out there and do whatever they want. It's just unstructured. And I know like there are some places, I think about like War Road, Minnesota, you know, we had their high school coach on and he was talking about it, but just having an hour of ice, and it could even be a revenue generating thing for a private rink where maybe you got to pay $200 at the beginning of the year. And from 3 to 4 every day, it's open ice for you. You can go out and you can do it. Imagine the revenue that you can create from that. Let's say you have a youth organization of 500 players and half the kids or a court, like, you know, they end up signing up for it. Like that could be good dough at an hour when not many people are using the ice outside of maybe like some private lessons or something like that. And so I just, man, we have to care about our base. We've lost the base. The numbers are showing that, and we have to get it back, and we have to put a lot more time, effort, and thought into how to grow that.
100%.
So, okay, man. All right. So that's my 3. What's your last one? What do you got?
My last one, I mean, we talked a lot about different things with development on this podcast, this specific episode. So we talk about pretty much every episode. But just one thing I'm seeing just with like the different boards and the different organizations that I've been a part of as a player, as a coach, as a strength coach, as a consultant, all these things. You and I talk about it a lot. Like we really, really, really need to systematize the developmental plan for the organization. Like if your organization doesn't have some type of flow chart, it doesn't need to be written by, you know, I thought of Ben Stein. Remember Ben Stein? I don't know why that he had those money with the eyeball drop commercials.
Bueller.
He's in The Mask. Ben Stein is in The Mask.
I know he is. Yeah.
If you're young, you definitely don't know what we're talking about. But
Win
you don't
Ben
need to be
Stein's money. That was the show back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. You don't need to be Albert Einstein to create a flow chart of at 6U, we need them to learn this so that they can do this at 8U, so they can do this at 10, at 12, blah, 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 up. And then, okay, what's on ice development we're looking for? What's off ice development we're looking for? And then a few branches of, well, how do we work on these specific things throughout the season? And what are we going to focus on as coaches, as managers, as the rink? If you're an organization that owns your rink, what are we going to do inside of the rink to help development, help love of the game, help all of these things so that we're progressing these young humans at each level, developmentally, both mentally, physically, emotionally, probably not spiritually, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it depends on the org. So it's just like, what do you do? And if you can't answer that, like, to me, that's where you start first and foremost. You know, you've got to create the map, the blueprint before you can just get in the car and start driving. So like, decide, what does this map look like? And then, okay, now you can hold your coaches accountable and be like, hey, every player that played for your midget team, only one player from your midget AAA team made juniors. That's a problem. Now, that's not just the coach's fault, obviously. But like, if that's happening year over year over year and you're not moving players on to higher levels and you're the midget coach, not only is that the midget coach that we need to look at and what are you working on and are these skills going to actually translate to the next level? Are you preparing them for life at the next level, for hockey at the next level? How about everybody else below that? Because it's not just a one team, one thing that it's a problem that we're not moving players on. It's they're not learning the prerequisite skills for that next level when they leave us to be ready. So let's reorganize our flow chart. Let's make sure that it's working correctly, progressing year over year over year. So when guys are leaving, the end goal of the organization, let's say it's a AAA organization, we have more players moving on. Love that.
Absolutely love that. And I think to kind of double down on your point of having like that systematized chart. So we actually have that we give to our partner clubs, you know, like each level, kind of like different things you should be working on, how you should think about age appropriate development stuff. But another part to that I think is really important is what we call like a separation of church and state when it comes to youth hockey operations. You got to have like a hockey development committee or a hockey director that is not involved in like the business admin side of the politics of youth hockey. Like their job is to make the hockey decisions. And then you have an, like a president and like a business ops, admin ops side. Like those two have to work in conjunction, but they also have to have like clear delineated like decision-making boundaries. Because as we all know, when those get blurred, that's when like the political crap ends up coming out in youth orgs. So like, let the hockey people make those hockey decisions of what that development plan is and should look like, and let the admin decisions for people who are like good at admin. Most hockey directors are not good at admin. I'll just say it flat out. They're hockey guys or hockey girls, and that's what they know. And then get some parents involved, or if it's, you know, a little bit more of a, let's call it for profit, whatever, like you actually pay somebody to do your admin. That's really important when, like, with just to double down on what you were saying.
Yeah. Love that. I mean, yeah. I know a lot of guys who are very, very good on the ice, very, very good in the gym, not good in the boardroom. And the same
answering emails, making financial decisions, organizational.
Don't write me an email. That's for sure. You're probably not getting an answer. I don't even barely know how to open it.
Oh my God. All right, guys. So you got 6 from us. Top 3 things we've learned from being so involved in this youth hockey space. And hopefully we've given you some perspective today that can help you on your journey, whatever you are. If you're a kid, if you're a parent, if you're a coach, if you're an administrator, whatever, hopefully this can give you some insight that can help you on that path. So Vex, anything to add before we go?
No, let's just keep making this hockey world a better place. Keep having conversations. Drop your ego if you're an adult or a parent, and let's keep trying to make this hockey world and world a better place for these kids.
Daddy wasn't there.
Peace.
It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sportsbook app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, bet text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.